in Singapore. Deirdre Bolton live for us, of course, in Singapore. Deirdre, thank you very much. Let's bring in James Carafano of the Heritage Foundation and Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis of Defense Priorities. Guys, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, there's a lot to talk about, but first I want to start with you, James, on the issue of denuclearization. Of course, we have heard statements from Mike Pompeo. We just read that to our viewers. We have heard other things in tweets from the president saying that this is what they want, denuclearization of the peninsula. They want that promise. Do you think President Trump has enough leverage to go into this meeting tomorrow and get that promise from Kim Jong-un?
Well, the answer is yes, but, it's really all up to Kim. I mean, markets really need to, take a deep yoga breath, because the U.S. underlying strategy of maximum pressure really protects our vital interests. And as long as that strategy remains in place and the U.S. doesn't compromise on that strategy, we have nothing to worry about in the course of the diplomacy, and it should just run a course. But let's say the president is overwhelmingly successful and Kim actually agrees to remove his nuclear program in order to open up to the West. The administration's already been pretty clear that's going to be a treaty. It's going to be a treaty that's signed off by the Senate. That's going to take time to negotiate. So nothing magical is going to happen in the next 48 hours.
Well, but there's been a lot of course, commentary from senior White House officials, Dan, as we've, of course, prepared for this summit. I want you to listen to what Larry Kudlow said on Face the Nation yesterday.
President is going to negotiate with Kim of North Korea in Singapore. It is a historic negotiation, and there is no way this president is not going to stand strong, number one. He's not going to allow other people to suddenly take pot shots at him hours before that summit.
Well, you think that's the strategy going forward? Do you think that's going to work?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that anything that President Trump does, he's going to do from a position of strength, certainly as he sees it, and he, as well he should, because the United States does come into this from an absolute and unequivocal position of power and strength in domination over North Korea, which is one of the reasons why I also say that, kind of like James said there a second ago, we have all the cards here, and we don't have to have an outcome that the CVID, which everybody talks about. We should absolutely go for that. But the fact of the matter is that Trump can keep the Americas safe no matter what happens with this because of our overwhelming military power.
Well, but James, I mean, remember what got us here beginning back in 2017 when Donald Trump first took office, and that was these threats, missile tests, and of course no one was more nervous than Japan at the time. But now that we're here, U.S. intelligence officials still believe that Kim has maybe 30 to 60 nuclear weapons, and there could be possibly 100 different centers in North Korea that are developing things like chemical weapons, biological weapons, things like that. We don't know. If we don't know, how do we demand that he end those programs?
Right. Well, look, here's the thing. They can't eat those things, and that's a big problem when you're trying to feed the Korean people. And the United States, with its strategy of maximum pressure, nuclear deterrence, missile defense, conventional deterrence, sanctioning, they really prevent them from being a real military threat. I mean, Kim can't actually have a war. It's the one thing that gets rid of his regime. So he would, if he wants to engage with the U.S.,
sure,
he's got to agree to this process, and this process will include, it would have to include very, very intrusive inspections. The Senate would insist on that in a treaty.
They're also going to be insisting, Dan, and we've already heard Kim Jong-un talk about this, and this is what nearly derailed the entire summit. They don't want to be Libya. He doesn't want to be Muammar Gaddafi. And when Ambassador Bolton used that strong language about the Libya model, that nearly derailed this entire thing. They're going to demand likely that there's going to be troop drawdowns in South Korea. There's going to be troop drawdowns from the U.S., possibly in Japan. If those questions are asked by the North Koreans, what's our answer?
Well, I think President Trump is going to say, hey, look, here's what is my bottom line. And then the whole thing is the art of the negotiation. And how far is President Trump willing to go to get the complete and verifiable negotiations? Because the fact is that's asking an incredible amount from North Korea. And we certainly aren't going to get that by just offering some sanctions relief. So the real big question is just how far is President Trump willing to go on that? Right. And my position is that if he actually can get the complete CVID, that might not be a bad chip to use for us.
Yeah, if they're open to inspections, which they're probably, well, they're going to have to be, I guess. James and Dan, thank you so much for being here so early this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're going to be leaning on
Good to be
both
with
of you over the next 48 hours. You're going to want to stay with Fox Business. We're going to have continuous live coverage of the summit. That's